Special agents with the FBI executed search warrants on the residence and safe deposit box of Senator Menendez and Nadine Menendez in New Jersey. When they got there, they discovered approximately $500,000 of cash stuffed into envelopes and closets.
Democratic Senator Bob Menendez has been indicted by a federal grand jury on corruption charges. The sweeping indictment accuses the senator from New Jersey and his wife of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in exchange for using political influence to protect and enrich 3 local businessmen. The senator denies any wrongdoing, saying in a statement, "For years, forces have been behind the scenes, repeatedly attempting to silence my voice and dig my political grave." Menendez went on to say he's been falsely accused and he refuses to back down. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, our contributor John Katko, contributing political correspondent Rachel Bade, and contributor Asha Rangappa. Asha, I want to start with you. How do you read this indictment? Some pretty stunning accusations in there. The photos to back it up. We saw the gold bars, the piles of cash in his jacket. What did you make of it as you were looking through that indictment?
Yeah, it's tempting to focus on what Senator Menendez was receiving, but I was focusing on what he was giving up. What I see in this entire indictment is a huge national security risk if these allegations are true. In addition to kind of, withholding or leveraging his power to release aid to Egypt, he was meeting with government officials and actually passing on to them, insider information like, questions that they might get from members of Congress that, will impact their aid. He was giving them staffing information about our U.S. embassy in Egypt. These kinds of things that can be used by foreign governments for their own, intelligence purposes. So I think this is a huge counterintelligence risk, and that was the big flashing neon sign to me.
Jay, talk a little bit more about those accusations, the evidence that investigators say back up his claims, and the fact that Menendez is still a sitting senator there in the U.S. Senate.
Very much so. He was the chair until today of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and that is one of the things prosecutors accuse him of misusing, that prominent perch on that committee that governs a lot of international relations. And one of the pieces of evidence that prosecutors presented that doesn't get as much attention as the pictures of the gold bars, etc., is this screen grab from Menendez's website where it walks through all the things the senator says he can't do on constituents' behalfs, and that includes influence business transactions, tip the scales in investigations, and it's exactly what prosecutors say he did, and I'll use their words, for quote-unquote certain people. So now Menendez, not the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, he stepped down according to the top Democrat, Senator Schumer, but he's still a sitting senator. And it's interesting because right before we went on the air, I texted my friend and colleague Rachel Bade, who's right there on your screen, and I asked, how long do you think until Menendez resigns? Do you think he'll resign in the first place? Because we're starting to hear calls from Democrats in New Jersey, including the governor, for him to step down.
Rachel, weigh in there. What do you think that Menendez, obviously he's temporarily off of that powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee post, but is he going to be able to stay on in the Senate based on what you're hearing?
I mean, TBD, Elizabeth. I can tell you, though, that he survived an indictment several years ago, right? And he might feel a little bullish because he was able to sort of hang on then. He didn't have to resign. And ultimately, there was a hung jury and sort of, we never saw any sort of conviction there, and he continued his political life. But this is different. This is a different circumstance for a couple of reasons. Number one, Democrats control the governorship right now in New Jersey, which means if he resigns, the governor can appoint another Democrat for that seat. Back when he was indicted the first time, Chris Christie was governor. So a lot of Democrats actually ended up giving Menendez the benefit of the doubt because they didn't want to lose that seat to a Republican. You're not seeing that this time around. You're already seeing New Jersey Democrats coming out and saying it's time for him to resign. Mikey Sherrill, Tom Milanowski made this point that if Democrats are going to say that Trump shouldn't be president again because he's been indicted so many times, how do they sort of rally behind Menendez at the same time? So I do think this is going to be different. He's going to face a lot of pressure in New Jersey to just get out and go home.
And John, you heard Rachel say there, this is the second indictment for Menendez on corruption charges in 10 years. Take a step back here. I mean, how disturbing is it to you that this is a U.S. senator we're talking about, and he still is there? And, you know, what does that say about our political system right now?
Well, you're innocent until proven guilty, but my God, this indictment is pretty potent. I was a federal organized crime prosecutor for 2 decades before I went to Congress, so I'm intimately familiar with the process. And there's an old saying that if you have the proof, put it in the indictment, and they certainly did that. I mean, there's some stuff here. You cannot explain how envelopes of cash stuffed in his jackets in his closet have the forensic evidence tying them to the other co-defendants. I mean, their phone calls they made to try and quash investigations, criminal investigations in Jersey are all tied up. They got a car that was paid for by co-defendants in their driveway. They've got gold bars that they can prove were bought by co-defendants. This is a pretty strong indictment, and don't forget, the very first thing the jury is going to hear is a judge reading this indictment to them. So by the time they even start this trial, they're going to hear this case, and they're going to hear all this evidence. And it's going to be a tough hole to climb out of for him, big time.
Tough to climb out of, but he did it once already. We'll have to see. Jay, John, Rachel, and Asha, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.